Picture this. In Amsterdam, over one-third of all the comings and goings, the movement around the city, happens on a bicycle.
Hmm.
Yet the space actually dedicated to bike traffic. Well, surprisingly small in comparison.
It is, yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this intriguing imbalance. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're pedaling our way into Amsterdam, a city really famed for its urban lifestyle. Our focus, the concept of the active city. And we'll be drawing insights from, well, a fascinating document commissioned by the city of Amsterdam itself.
And what's immediately striking about this document, I think, is the sheer scope of Amsterdam's ambition here.
Right.
We have a really rich collection of information. It ranges from understanding the historical roots of their deep cycling culture
Right.
to examining very specific design tools and genuinely inspiring projects, all aimed at making movement in all its forms a fundamental part of city life.
Yeah,
They're really looking at how to, weave physical activity right into the urban fabric.
absolutely. We're looking at how historical shifts have shaped their approach, the sort of strategic thinking behind their urban planning. And concrete examples, right? How Amsterdam is striving to make it easier and more appealing for everyone to cycle, walk, engage in sports, and just, well, enjoy being active outdoors.
Exactly.
So for you, the learner, our goal today is to extract the most compelling ideas, those practical strategies, and maybe those aha moments that Amsterdam is generating. We want to give you a clear understanding of what a truly active city looks like without getting totally lost in, excessive detail.
And it's important to consider this isn't just about ticking a box for exercise, is it?
No, not at all.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Amsterdam is clearly thinking about the broader benefits, things like public health, fostering social connections,
Right.
and even boosting the city's economic appeal, all through the proactive encouragement of movement.
Okay. All right, let's start our deep dive then with cycling and walking. They're clearly at the heart of Amsterdam's active city philosophy. Our sources take us back quite a ways. Apparently, before the 1920s, the bicycle reigned supreme in Amsterdam.
Yeah, much like many other European cities back then.
Right.
That's right. The document points to a convergence of factors, a kind of perfect storm, if you will, that really put cycling in the driver's seat in those early days.
What kind of factors?
Well, affordable bicycles were readily available, apparently, particularly from Germany. And the city's unique layout, with its extensive canal system, it actually made cars and even public transport less convenient for lots of journeys.
Ah,
Plus, the relatively compact and flat terrain of the city was, of course, just ideal for cycling.
then came the rise of the automobile.
Oh.
And from the 1960s to the mid-1970s, we saw a significant decline in cycling.
A familiar story in many places.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The tide started to turn again, thanks to social activism and some pivotal policy shifts starting in the mid-1970s.
Precisely. The increasing prominence of the car led to urban planning that often separated residential areas from employment hubs.
Leading to longer commutes.
Exactly, longer travel distances. However, the social protests you mentioned often centered around reclaiming public space and improving urban livability. They played a crucial role, pushing back against this car-dominated model and really fostering the resurgence of cycling.
So, zooming forward to the present day, Amsterdam has set some, well, pretty ambitious targets for both cycling and walking.
Yeah.
They emphasize creating connected urban cores, highlighting the need for excellent routes that seamlessly link with rapid public transport networks,
Yeah.
making it effortless to transition between, say, a train or tram and a bicycle, or just your own 2 feet.
And that's a really logical approach, isn't it?
Seems like it.
If we think about the daily commute, the more smoothly we can integrate cycling and walking with public transport options, the more attractive these active modes become as alternatives to driving. It's all about building a truly integrated and convenient mobility system.
Another key ambition is their focus on promoting cycling and walking within low-traffic neighborhoods. The underlying idea here is that by creating high-density, mixed-use areas where daily needs are within easy reach, cycling naturally becomes the most efficient and appealing way to get around.
And apparently, real-world experience backs this up. The source says people tend to cycle much more frequently in environments like that.
Right.
What's insightful here is the subtle shift in emphasis. It's not solely about constructing dedicated bike lanes everywhere.
Okay.
In these low traffic zones, the priority is on fostering a human-centric scale, where cycling and walking are inherently prioritized, and the shorter distances simply make these modes the most practical choice.
Then there's this concept of shared streets. Now, this sounds like a different approach.
Hmm.
It involves blending rather than segregating different types of traffic flow.
Yeah, they call it traffic calming.
And our sources also point out the growing diversity of bicycles. Now you've got e-bikes, speed pedelecs,
A whole range.
and how urban design needs to facilitate safe interaction among all users, but at lower speeds.
This raises a key question, doesn't it? How different speeds can safely coexist in these shared spaces? The document suggests that at lower speeds, direct interaction and what they call negotiated movement, think eye contact, body language.
Like a nod.
Exactly, a nod. That can actually be more effective than rigid rules and regulations. It's a more, organic way of sharing the public realm.
Interesting. Finally, a really important ambition: creating safe and obstacle-free public space. This truly underscores the importance of ensuring that routes are comfortable and secure for everyone, particularly vulnerable groups like children, people with disabilities, older adults.
Absolutely essential. It's about cultivating an environment where everyone feels confident and safe walking or cycling.
Yeah.
Thinking about smooth surfaces, clear pathways, minimal impediments. And as we discussed, developing those low-traffic neighborhoods contributes significantly to this overall sense of safety and accessibility.
Now, to really illustrate these ideas, our sources are full of, well, compelling projects. Let's start with the Mallerplein bike parking station. This sounds like a serious commitment to cycling infrastructure.
It absolutely is. It's situated at Station Zuid, this underground facility.
Yeah.
It boasts an impressive capacity of 3,000 bicycles.
Wow, 3,000.
And it provides a direct connection right to the train platforms. This large-scale investment, it really signals a fundamental commitment to prioritizing cycling, making it a viable, attractive mode of transport.
It goes beyond just a few racks on the street, then.
Oh, definitely. It tackles a key barrier, secure parking, right at a major transport hub, which could encourage more people to cycle to the station and, integrate it into longer journeys.
Another compelling example is the Rödersalen University campus. Apparently, this entire area used to be accessible by car.
That's right. But it has undergone a complete transformation into a car-free zone.
So what's there now?
Well, what were once parking lots are now dedicated bike parking areas and public spaces, creating a much more pedestrian and cyclist-friendly environment right in the heart of the city. It really underscores that shift in priorities we've been talking about.
Okay. Then there's Sarfettestraat,
Yeah.
which has been specifically redesigned as a street for bikes. It sounds like they've truly prioritized cyclists here.
What's fascinating about Sarfettestraat is that it's become a vital part of a larger cycling ring around the city center. Cars are essentially considered guests in the space.
The guest, okay.
Yeah, and different modes of transport share the road at roughly similar speeds. The outcome, a significant increase in the number of cyclists and, interestingly, high ratings for user comfort.
So prioritizing one mode actually helped everyone.
It seems so. It demonstrates that sometimes prioritizing one mode can ultimately benefit everyone by creating a more harmonious environment.
De Ruyterkade is another interesting case.
Yeah.
They actually rerouted car traffic through an underground tunnel.
Yes, freeing up the surface level entirely for pedestrians and cyclists.
That's a big move.
It is. It's a prime example of reclaiming valuable public space. By diverting the dominant car traffic, they've created a shared environment where pedestrians and cyclists can interact much more freely at comparable speeds with minimal regulatory intervention. It fosters a more social, less controlled atmosphere.
And for commuters, the Haarlem-Amsterdam bike highway sounds like a real game changer. It's described as fast, direct, and green.
The data presented on this route is quite compelling, actually. In many instances, particularly when you factor in rush hour congestion and potential train delays, cycling, whether on a regular bike or a speed pedelec, can actually outperform both the car and the train.
Really? In terms of time?
In terms of travel time, yeah, but also cost and environmental impact. It really highlights the potential of well-designed cycling infrastructure for regional commuting.
They also mentioned the Nessebrug, which provides a direct connection but apparently has some perceived safety concerns because it passes through large green spaces.
This brings up an important point. Directness alone isn't sufficient, is it? The perception of safety is also a critical factor, especially in areas that might feel isolated, particularly during evening hours. It underscores the need to consider the entire user experience, not just the physical infrastructure.
Our sources also touch on this really interesting idea of eye contact, body language, and a nod as the primary way cyclists and pedestrians sort of self-regulate in shared spaces.
Hmm.
It's a very human way of navigating, isn't it?
Right.
Especially when you contrast it with the more technology-mediated interactions in car traffic.
It really is. This reliance on nonverbal cues highlights a level of social trust and, well, a density of pedestrians and cyclists that's often absent in cities dominated by cars.
It suggests a shared understanding.
Exactly. A shared understanding and prioritization of human-scale interaction in public spaces. It's a subtle but powerful indicator of Amsterdam's active city ethos.
What's fascinating here is the increasing prevalence of pedestrians and cyclists in many urban centers. This shift allows for that more human-scale interaction, where individuals are more attuned to each other's presence and can negotiate movement more organically.
Yeah, it's a move away from strict separation and rigid rules.
Okay, finally for this section, let's discuss walking, particularly in post-war districts and employment areas. Apparently, cycling rates tend to be lower there.
That's what the sources suggest, yeah. But there's significant potential to encourage more walking.
How so?
The key in these areas is to focus on the factors that make walking appealing. Things like short distances, both actual and perceived.
Perception matters, right?
Absolutely. Direct and easy to follow routes, comfortable walking surfaces, pleasant surroundings, even relatively small interventions like improved pedestrian crossings, ramps for accessibility, even just incorporating street art can make a noticeable difference in encouraging more walking.
And what about employment areas?
Well, the ongoing trend towards mixed-use developments in those areas is crucial. It reduces distances and makes walking a viable option for, say, lunch breaks or commuting between different activities within the area.
Okay, let's switch gears now and delve into the role of sports in creating an active city. Our sources highlight a really interesting trend: the growing popularity of unstructured sports and individual physical activities, right alongside the more traditional club-based sports.
Yeah,
It's almost as if the entire city is evolving into a giant outdoor gym.
that's a very apt way to describe it. The increasing emphasis on individualization and a greater focus on personal health and wellness are undoubtedly driving this shift. People are keen to be active, but often on their own terms, fitting it into their busy lives without the structured commitment of traditional sports clubs.
Makes sense. So what are Amsterdam's key ambitions when it comes to sports and physical activity? One prominent goal mentioned is open sports, which focuses on making sports facilities more publicly accessible, adaptable for multiple uses, and easily available to everyone.
The core idea here is really to maximize the utilization of existing sports infrastructure. Make it available to a broader range of users, not just exclusive club members.
So sharing resources more.
Exactly. By sharing resources and integrating different functions, like combining a gym with after-school care facilities and sports fields all in one location, sports can become more deeply integrated into the local community fabric.
Another key ambition is to embrace the city as gym, which is all about intentionally designing public spaces to naturally provide opportunities for physical activity.
This is where thoughtful urban design truly comes into play, isn't it?
How does that work in practice?
It involves incorporating elements into the built environment, things like variations in elevation, accessible open spaces, interconnected green pathways that naturally encourage movement, making physical activity an integral part of everyday life, not something you have to go somewhere special to do.
And with Amsterdam's extensive network of waterways, it's logical that they also have a specific ambition around leveraging water as active space.
Absolutely. Amsterdam's canals and other waterways offer a fantastic and often underutilized resource for a whole range of sports and recreational activities.
Like what?
Oh, swimming, kayaking, paddleboarding, rowing. The focus here is on improving access points and providing the necessary facilities to make these activities more readily available to residents.
Okay, just as with cycling and walking, our sources showcase some inspiring projects in the realm of sports. Let's begin with Sportus. What exactly is that?
Sportus is essentially a dedicated route. It's designed to connect various sports and leisure facilities, creating a continuous link all the way out to the Amsterdamsbos, which is a large park area.
And who is it for?
It's specifically designed with runners and cyclists in mind. It features a hard surface, conveniently located water fountains, and even designated start and finish lines. It's a great example of how to seamlessly integrate sports into the urban environment.
Olympiaplain is another interesting example. It's a centrally located public square that includes football pitches designed for multi-purpose use.
That's right, catering not only to sports clubs, but also to local residents and schools.
So it's a real community hub.
It really is. Olympiaplain has served as a sporting hub for decades, actually. And its redesign emphasizes this community integration. They use transparent fencing around the pitches, which makes the activity visible and part of the neighborhood. And its central location encourages spontaneous use by people of all ages.
Loma Ben Spartan is an interesting case because it combines inner-city football pitches with dedicated play and sports spaces, but our source notes that the initial design kind of separated these areas.
Yes, and valuable lessons were learned about the importance of true integration.
What was the lesson?
That's a crucial learning point. Simply placing different facilities next to each other isn't really enough. Effective design needs to actively encourage interaction and shared use. The realization was that more fully integrating the football pitches with the surrounding sports and play zone would have been more successful in creating a cohesive community space.
Got it. Dimorandabad is primarily known as a swimming pool complex, but it also incorporates facilities for informal sports and a really innovative dual-purpose play area that also serves as a water retention basin.
Yeah, this is a great example of smart multifunctional design. The play area in front of the pool can be used for various activities, but it also serves a practical purpose for water management.
Clever.
It's about maximizing the utility of public space.
Then we have Mir Park, which has undergone a transformation from a more traditional sports park into a vibrant city park for collective use. A key aspect was removing fences.
Yes, and creating these transitional zones of activity. By removing those physical barriers, they've made the sports facilities much more accessible to the wider community.
And these zones of activity.
The concept fosters a more fluid and integrated space, encouraging interaction between different users and a wider range of activities. The addition of the boulder wall is particularly interesting.
The climbing wall.
Yeah, bouldering wall. It attracts a new group of users and adds a unique element to the park's offerings.
Finally, our sources introduce Wester Park, Norder Park, and Park Summerlust as examples of new urban parks. These sound like much more than just sports fields.
They are. They integrate spaces for relaxation, sports, entertainment, cultural activities.
The whole package.
Pretty much. These parks represent a more holistic and integrated approach to public space design. They're intended to be dynamic hubs that cater to a diverse range of interests and activities. They also act as important links between the urban environment and the surrounding natural landscape. This mix of uses enhances their overall appeal and promotes a greater sense of safety, making them attractive destinations throughout the year.
It's interesting to note that our sources specifically highlight the value of sports in the city, really underscoring how opportunities for sports and physical activity are increasingly becoming important social values for attracting both residents and businesses.
This reflects a growing recognition, I think, that quality of life, which definitely includes ample opportunities for recreation and physical activity, is a key factor in attracting talent and investment to a city. It's no longer solely about economic factors. Social well-being has become a critical element of a thriving urban environment.
Okay, let's shift our focus now to the crucial role of play and leisure activities in an active city. Our sources emphasize just how vital outdoor play is for children's healthy development. And they also note the concerning trend of declining rates of outdoor play.
That is a significant concern. Outdoor play is absolutely fundamental for a wide range of developmental aspects, from developing motor skills and creativity to fostering social and cognitive abilities. The observed decrease in children's independent movement and opportunities for outdoor play has, well, tangible negative consequences for their overall well-being.
So what are Amsterdam's key ambitions in this area? One is to create places without borders. These are flexible, multi-purpose spaces that aren't rigidly defined by specific equipment or uses.
This involves moving away from highly prescriptive, traditional playgrounds with fixed equipment.
Like just swings and a slide.
Exactly. The aim is to design spaces that stimulate imagination and encourage unscripted play, where children and even adults can discover their own ways to interact with the environment.
Another important ambition is to prioritize safe routes and spaces for children, emphasizing the need for accessible play areas that are seamlessly integrated into everyday routes.
Making it easier for children to engage in spontaneous play.
Right.
Safety is, of course, paramount, but so is accessibility and integration. It's about creating a network of safe and stimulating play spaces that are woven into the fabric of the neighborhood, rather than being isolated, designated playgrounds somewhere off on their own.
And finally, the importance of attractive greenery is highlighted, recognizing the crucial role that parks and green spaces play in providing opportunities for play and relaxation for people of all ages.
Green spaces offer essential environments for both active and passive forms of recreation. They provide vital places for children to play, for adults to relax and connect with nature, and for seniors to enjoy the outdoors, all contributing to the overall health and well-being of the community.
Our inspiring projects for play and leisure begin with Van Beuningen. This sounds like a rather unconventional playground built on top of an underground car park.
It is indeed. The design intentionally challenges conventional playground norms. It incorporates elements that can be interpreted and used in a multitude of ways.
How so?
The goal is to encourage experimentation and unprogrammed play, fostering what's known as perceived affordance.
Perceived affordance.
Yeah, essentially designing the space in a way that naturally suggests to children and adults too how they can play and interact with it without needing explicit instructions or signs.
Interesting. Then there's Bleiburg, Amsterdam's first urban beach. It sounds like a really interesting and somewhat temporary community-driven initiative.
Bleiburg is a fantastic example of a flexible and evolving public space. It fosters a wide array of activities, effectively bringing together different segments of the community. Its temporary nature actually allows it to adapt to changing urban landscapes and the evolving needs of the local population.
And lastly, Weston is mentioned as a larger nature playground, designed to encourage more adventurous and exploratory play.
This type of playground directly addresses the need for more challenging and nature-rich play environments, allowing children to engage with natural elements and experience a greater degree of, well, managed risk-taking within a supervised setting.
Our sources also emphasize the importance of creating a child-friendly city overall, highlighting the need for peaceful neighborhoods and safe routes that encourage children's independent movement and play.
Creating these low-traffic, safe, and appealing environments is absolutely crucial for fostering children's autonomy, allowing them to experience the city independently, which is a vital part of developing into responsible and engaged city dwellers.
Okay, to bring our deep dive to a close, our sources highlight three overarching principles that seem to guide Amsterdam's active city approach. The first is the importance of embracing the unplanned, recognizing the value of informal spaces and grassroots initiatives driven by residents themselves.
This principle acknowledges that sometimes the most vibrant and engaging public spaces emerge organically, don't they?
Yeah, you can't always plan for everything.
Exactly. It's about being receptive to spontaneous uses and empowering residents to actively shape their own local environment.
The second guiding principle is to actively involve users, emphasizing the critical importance of including residents and other stakeholders in the design and planning processes.
Community involvement is absolutely key to create public spaces that genuinely meet the needs and desires of the people who will actually use them most. It fosters a sense of ownership and helps ensure that the resulting designs are practical, well-received, and truly contribute to the community's well-being.
And the third and final principle is to think in activities, not just objects, shifting the focus from simply building infrastructure to enabling a diverse range of movement and physical activities.
This represents a fundamental shift in perspective, I think. It's about creating an environment that supports a wide spectrum of physical activities, recognizing that even a simple sidewalk or an open green space can be just as valuable as a dedicated sports facility, depending on how it facilitates movement and interaction.
So overall, Amsterdam's vision for an active city seems to be about creating an urban environment where physical activity isn't just encouraged, but becomes a natural and integrated part of everyday life for everyone, regardless of their age or physical abilities.
Precisely. They are taking a holistic approach, viewing the city as an interconnected system where movement is intentionally facilitated and woven into, well, all aspects of urban living.
Considering Amsterdam's inspiring journey, here's a final thought for you, the learner. What are one or two key elements that your city, neighborhood, or even you personally could adopt or rethink to foster a more active lifestyle? And think beyond just building more bike lanes or gyms. Consider those underlying principles: integration, community involvement, embracing the unplanned.
That's a really crucial point for reflection, isn't it? It encourages us all to look at our own surroundings with fresh eyes and consider how we might create more opportunities for movement and activity in our daily routines.
Thank you for diving deep with us into Amsterdam's Active City Initiative today. We've explored the fascinating historical evolution of cycling, the emphasis on integrated design for cycling, walking, sports, and play, and the vital role of community involvement in shaping a more active urban environment.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey through their approach.
We encourage you to reflect on that final thought and perhaps explore your own city or neighborhood with a renewed active city perspective. Look for examples of the design tools or principles we discussed in your own environment. Maybe see what's already there or what could be.
And remember, the insights we've shared today are really just a starting point. We encourage you to seek out further information and consider how these innovative ideas might be applicable in your own context.
You can find more information about the deep dive and suggest topics for future explorations on our website.
Until our next deep dive, keep exploring the world around you.